Welcome to Scale With Us, the podcast for business owners navigating the absolute chaos of scaling a business and juggling all that life throws at you along the way.
Each week, we'll be talking about our wins and fails and everything in between because, let's be real, it's not all smooth scaling.
So grab a drink, settle in, and let's get into it. Hey guys, welcome back to the Scale With Us podcast. You might notice we're not alone today. Jess and I are sitting next to each other, and there is a beautiful lady sitting across from us who you may remember from years yonder, or maybe current days from following her online. Her name is Courtney Hill, and she is an amazing human. We're so excited to have her on the podcast today to talk about all things leadership and juggling life and probably some other little tips and surprises along the way. So welcome, Courtney.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me.
It's all right. Now, you might remember Courtney from the podcast that we did a few years ago called Those Real Estate Chicks, which life has just been way too busy to pick it up again. Which
the only chance we get to catch up is doing a podcast.
Doing another podcast. So
Go figure.
So welcome. Let's jump in.
Yes, I'm very excited to be here. I love a good podcast.
Well,
chat.
Let's crack a drink. We hopefully don't spill it all over ourselves, but can anyone guess what we're drinking today? Hopefully
Cheers.
that was
Do
a
we
very
cheers? Are we cheesy?
We can't cheers,
cheers. So
unfortunately.
imaginary clinks. Hopefully that was a lovely ASMR moment for everybody listening.
Yeah. This is actually, it's called Moondog. It's a fizzy alcoholic juice. I've never heard of an alcoholic juice
Tastes
before.
like punch.
All right.
yeah.
I'm just going to,
Talk us-
I am an alcohol snob, so
Talk us through it. I'll tell you what it reminds me of when you're finished. Oh, the face.
She doesn't like it.
I mean, it's alcoholic and I've been up since 4 o'clock, so I'll
We
drink
need
it.
We should have done the espresso martini cans today.
Yeah, we should have.
yes.
That was, what, a month ago or so now?
Do you know what that reminds you of? Remember when you were like a teenager and you guys like would start drinking, but like someone would make a really alcoholic punch? Mm-hmm. It just doesn't taste as strong as that.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, the one when I was 17.
Yeah, and you pour like
A mate's
bottles of
place.
vodka in and like some passion fruit
Yeah.
stuff from the can.
And then everyone's passed out in the corner.
Yes.
That
Yes.
one.
Yeah, that one. Well, that's a good start to the episode. We're going to upheave our drunken stories from yonder years. Really excited to have you on today,
Yes,
Courtney.
thank you.
We just watch your journey and respect everything you do so much, and we thought that it'd be amazing to get you on and have a chat and unpack your journeys and lessons of work and leadership and how you do what you do every day, jetting around the country whilst raising a family with 3 very energetic young boys. So welcome and thank you for joining us today.
Yes.
What's the journey of Courtney? Like, what's led you to this studio here today?
Yeah. Well, if we consider, where does the journey start, right? So
Okay, how far back are we going?
yeah, how far are we going here?
When were you born? No.
Well,
What's happening in the world on the day you were born?
well, let me tell you, I have no idea. No, I think my professional journey, it's really interesting. I've said this before, anyone who's spent time with me professionally, I always like a good origin story, whether it's, and that's not rugby league because I'm a Victorian. I don't like those kind of origin stories.
You're talking up the wrong tree.
But I always love to hear how people landed in this industry because I often say that nobody finished high school when they were 17 and said, yes, I'm going to go and be a property manager or I'm going to go and, some people do say I'm going to go and, work in real estate and drive my Lamborghinis and so forth. But really, it's not something that is on the career path for a lot of people, when they think about what they want to be when they grow up. And I know for me, I wanted to be, and I did become this. I wanted to be a professional musician. And I went to university and I studied music and I got 6 months in and I was like, I'm never going to make any money doing this. The best at that stage, because we're talking mid-90s here, unless you were uber talented, the best you could hope for was to become a music teacher, and that just wasn't the path I wanted to go down. So my best friend's family had a real estate agency and I thought, I'll just go and work here for...
That's such a common story.
That's mine.
Is it yours as well?
Yeah.
She's still my best friend to this day. And, a couple of months I'll go and work for the family. And that journey has now led to, a 25-year career in the property industry in some form.
Yeah.
So 15 years I was on the tools as a property manager, BDM, department manager. And then for the last say 11 or 12 years I've worked in technology.
Which is where we met.
Yes. Yeah.
We had our journey. So we worked at Inspect Real Estate together many
That's right. I was going to ask how you guys met. Yeah, it's all coming back to me now.
Yeah, so what was that? 8 years ago? 9 years ago?
Oh, God.
We hadn't had babies at that point.
No.
Maybe I had one. Did I have one? No, I don't think I even had one.
I think you were maybe pregnant maybe when I first met you. I can't remember.
Yeah.
Although I do feel like there were some drunken events before kids came along.
So you weren't pregnant or you were?
So mustn't have been.
No,
Or
I
maybe
wouldn't
there
have been.
Because otherwise there wouldn't have been many
Would have
spots
been
in
interim,
between.
I'd say, because I had my first child 2015 and then my second was 17 months later. So it was very quick. And then we had a 4-year break between 2 and 3. So there's plenty of drunken nights between 2 and 3.
Yes,
So
that must have been the crossover period.
I would say so.
Many industry events, yeah. No, yes, because we worked together at Inspect Real Estate at a time where, they had a distribution model. So we were both freelance distributors, which was a very unique, I suppose, opportunity for both of us, right? Because we kind of had the opportunity to start and grow a business within someone else's business. So I'd love to hear about like that part around like how you kind of started off and grew a business within another business, but really that was your own operation there.
So with Inspect Real Estate, we ran a distribution business, which essentially was our own business. Yep. We were given a license, I guess is the best way of describing that, to on-sell the software for the founders. I did that for 8 years. And had all my babies in those 8 years. So it's a really interesting journey to consider. It's a somewhat well-known story with people that know me, but I did run those businesses without taking any maternity leave. And so that's good and bad.
Yeah.
There's some great things about that. It means that I haven't had income breaks. It means that I've been able to continue helping to financially support my family, but it also means I haven't slept for
A very long time.
a very long
Ever.
time. Yeah. And running a business without the stress of children is challenging. When you add 3 little boys into that, it becomes very, profit and loss statements. I had staff as well, so having staff and then also managing other stakeholders in a business that you don't own. Because you're an on-seller of a platform. But it was a really successful time. It's a lot of fun being part of a startup company, being able to run your own race. Inspect Real Estate was such a game-changing platform and in my opinion still is. And really, it's what I call a market maker. So it really took our industry from a very manual job into a highly, highly automated job to the point now where most people working in the industry today don't really remember what it was like to do the job without that system. And therefore sometimes cannot see the real value that it's actually brought to our customer experience, but also to the experience that a property manager or a leasing consultant has day to day to actually do their jobs and to be able to scale it as well. You used to only be able to lease 10 properties in a month. Now you can do 30 quite easily. So it was a really great period and we met some great people and some great customers and was a really great foundation for where I'm at today.
And where are you at today? So for the listeners, who might not know where you're at and what your journey is, obviously there was a transition period where that setup changed and you then became part of Inspect Real Estate and now Reap It.
Yes.
So where are you at now? Tell us about your role and what you do day to day.
Yeah, so about 3 years ago, I'd gotten to a point where it was great doing my own business and certainly earning good money and lots of flexibility, but I'm a highly driven person and I love challenge and I love to learn and grow and I like to have a big life and I like to think what's next. I'm not a settler. I don't like to settle. And I got to 8 years and I thought, I'm ready for something different, even though it ticks all the boxes financially and flexibly. I'm actually ready to take another step up in a way that may mean that I take a step back financially, but it will expand my career. And at the same time that I was thinking that, the owners of Inspect Real Estate approached me and said, would you consider coming in, working internally in the business and essentially running the revenue team? And Hermione will remember this. So we spent the weekend together and I'm like, what do I do? But I knew it was the right move. And then 6 months later, Inspect Real Estate was acquired by Reapit. And so through the acquisition 2 years ago this month, I then became the head of sales specifically for property management. So that meant any other property management platform that existed within the Reapit product suite now fell under my remit, which has been a really exciting journey. And somewhat going back to selling trust accounting, because I actually did sell trust accounting previously as well. And I often think about the journeys that we go on in our lives. Everything is setting us up for something.
Yeah.
So I remember when I was selling trust accounting 12 years ago, and I'm sitting there thinking, like, why am I here? Like, what am I here to learn? And it's interesting how 11, 12 years later, I'm like, oh, that's why. And it's something I say to any of my staff or even anyone in our company. I always say to them, make sure that you learn all of the things that you need to learn or that are ahead of you in the role that you have now, because you never know when that skill set will be required in the future, whether it be in a job or in a personal setting, or when you're raising your children, or you're having to deal with a childcare centre, or there's always a reason for the skill that we're learning at the time, even if it feels repetitive, even if it feels, oh, what's the point of this? There's always a way that we can use it and make sure that we get the most out of that, so we're set up for what's next.
I love that. Love it. Do you know what it reminds me of? Did you see that movie Slumdog Millionaire?
Yeah.
It reminds me of that. It literally reminds me of, sorry, spoiler alert if you haven't seen the movie, but, the whole movie is around, him being on this show, Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, I think they say on the show, Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. And it's like all the answers to the questions are like these specific moments that he's had in his life. So every question that he's been asked in that moment is he goes back to specific, I just got goosebumps, specific moments that he's had in his life that have given him the right answers in the right moment.
Yeah.
I love that.
And I think I always think of, there's toward thinking or away thinking. And I think if you're going through something or there's something at work, a task that you don't like doing, you can look at that and go, I hate this task. It's really awful. Why am I doing this? Or you can look and say, how can I absolutely nail this? I don't really enjoy it, but what is it setting me up for?
Yeah.
And it's just that really small change in the mindset around how we look at something. So what can I take out of this in a toward way, in a positive way, as opposed to the away way, which would be the negative way. And that's really how I look at anything, because we all have things in our days that we don't enjoy doing.
Yeah.
That's why you need a VA.
That's why you need a VA. Exactly. But you don't know you need the VA if you don't do it first.
Yeah.
Anyway. It's like I outsource my home cleaning, right?
Yep.
Now, I hate cleaning.
Yep.
But the only way I know that I hate cleaning is because
you've
I've done it.
cleaned.
Yeah. So I think it's just an eyes wide open approach, and just having a big life and learning all of the things that we need to learn with what's directly in front of us is a really important way to look at life.
Oh my gosh, there's so much I want to unpack from that. I'm curious to know, like, because obviously that you talk about like your mindset and the way you look at things. I know people that have worked on your team and I've worked with you, and you're an incredible leader in how you lead teams. So I'd love for you to share like how you develop the mindset of your team and how you bring them on that journey with you.
That's a good question. I think about there's one really key thing that I think is really important when you're leading your team, and that is actually two things. One is that consistency towards excellence, and excellence is different for everyone because everyone's at a different point. And excellence only needs to be 1% better than you were yesterday. And so that's something I'm often striving with my team, like, what is something that you can work on this week? Just one thing. It doesn't have to be big, huge, elephant-sized things. It can just be, I want to learn how to write that email better next time. Or it can be something like, I want to learn how to answer the phone with a smile in my voice instead of, So it's just little things like that change the experience, but also making it achievable. Also not comparing to each other. So everybody's at different phases in their careers. The other thing that's really important to me is that everyone in my team always has a voice. So it's a safe space. I create that environment with my teams so that nothing is ever about what they did wrong or what they could have done better. It's about how could we all be better and how can we support you? How can we as a business support you to be better at that, as opposed to just blaming them and then they don't have that voice where they feel safe to come and express, I don't really know how to do that, or and then they make a mistake that could have been easily avoided.
Yeah.
So if I think about leadership, I'm definitely about bringing people on the journey and providing that safe space and open door that people can be honest, and that's how I see success.
And it's more of that like towards thinking. It's like, how do we move towards versus that stick approach of like, oh, you're not doing it. I'm interested to know, obviously you're, running a sales focused team. What, I suppose, how do you handle, like, say if a team member isn't performing or isn't hitting their targets, like what's your approach with that? Because I think that's something that a lot of people struggle with. We spoke about that in a recent episode of, putting on a team member, and it's like maybe whether they're new or they've been there a while, they're not quite, hitting their targets or what they were to be. I love that you say, hey, we, try and work on it as a team, but like if you notice someone's struggling, falling behind or not performing, how do you handle that in a team?
Yeah, that is a real journey that a leader has to go on in how to performance manage someone respectfully. Because there's a couple of bits to that. One is we're talking about someone's livelihood. And so depending on how we approach it can have the wrong effect. It can cause stress. It can cause a lot of chaos, and it has the complete opposite effect. I think managing someone's performance comes down to clarity. What do I exactly expect from you? Not an assumption that they know what you expect of them. So that's the first point I would say is clarity of role. If you need to change that role, being really clear and precise about what needs to change. The second thing would be tracking. So how can I give my team, whether it be a property management team that I've run, whether it be a sales team that I've run, a process team, whatever this is for any team. It's clarity on what we need them to achieve. It's visibility on what they need to achieve. And depending on the person, it's how you break it down for them. So to give you an example, we run to what's called a quota. So there's a certain dollar value that each of my sales team members needs to get. Now I've got one rep who she just looks at the final number. She goes, that's my number. And she runs as hard as she can to get to that number with a quarter to go, right? And she's just achieved. I'm so proud of her. But for her, that ability to go, that's my number, that's where I'm going, just drives and motivates her. Whereas someone else looks at that number and it's insurmountable, right? I will never get to that number. So when you manage that person, you have to break it down into bite-sized weekly, right? So you need to get 2 deals at this amount every week and that'll get you to your number, and it feels like a really achievable target. So I think it's clarity on what they need to achieve. It's visibility on what they're achieving, and then it's working with the individual on how they best reach their goals. Now, your question was, what do you do so if you've got those foundations right,
You probably don't need to.
you shouldn't need to, yeah. But what it actually does is you don't want to get to a point where the results are so bad that you have to performance manage straight away. What you want to do is go on a journey with someone and look at not the end goal, but what's going on at the start. And then you would go on a journey with that person on developing the right habits at the start so that the results come. And if the habits are happening at the start and you're comfortable with those habits, the results will come. And then if the results aren't coming, well, that's a different problem to solve. Now, does that mean I avoid performance management PIPs, as we call them? Oh, our favourite term. No, I have definitely had to manage those. But there's there's this concept that if you put someone on a performance management plan, it's to get them out, right? Which is just not how I look at it. Performance management plan should always be those three things: clarity, visibility, and coaching. And as you're doing that performance plan, really, as we come to the end, it's always I always want my team to pass them, because it's really important that they see it that way. If they see it as a way that you're just trying to get them out of the business, that's not good for anyone.
Yeah.
Exactly. But I think if you do those three things, it's really, really, really simple things, you should avoid that at all costs. Yeah.
What would be your takeaways on that, Jess? Because obviously, I don't have as big of a team. You've got, a team, and we were talking about this, in recent weeks around, I suppose, creating good culture and performance and results, but also what to do.
Yeah.
How does that reflect in your business?
I was actually thinking about I've only done 2 pips in my whole.
They're not fun.
They're not fun.
They are
at
not
all.
fun. Yeah.
And one of them was to actually get them out because I just knew that they weren't the right fit, and I knew that she would opt out as soon as I put that on her, which I would never do now. I would just have that hard conversation and just let it happen.
I think that's the really key thing you just said then, is the hard conversation.
Yeah.
As leaders, we need to learn to love difficult conversations.
And I didn't at the start. I would avoid it at all costs.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's also a contributor to poor performance in a team.
For sure.
Is a leader avoiding difficult conversations or not approaching them with grace and kindness.
Yeah.
I think it's I always think, how can I approach a performance management conversation where somebody knows that I need their performance to increase, but they come out the other side feeling energized and excited by the process, not, oh my God, I'm about to lose my job. And that's why I think I'm able to get success with those staff through that performance management.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's how I look at it now. It's not, if you really want someone out, that can happen if you really want it to. But performance, what is it? Performance improvement
plan.
Yeah.
It's also a cultural thing for a company. If you're using a performance plan as a vehicle to move people on, it creates the wrong culture.
Absolutely, because then the next person is going to see it as like, oh my God, this is what is happening.
Yeah, absolutely. That's exactly how it would be seen.
Yeah.
And, I work in a company. We're a global company. In Australia, I think we've got 600 employees, big company.
Yeah.
And I do take a lot on my shoulders that the things I do reflect in other departments, and it's important to lead. Sales is always that way in any company. Sales is always you always see the wins and the losses from sales everywhere. It's the really visible part of a business.
You guys are on show.
We are on show, absolutely. And so my counterpart, Dave Bliss, and I really take pride in that, and we really know that we want to lead well because we know others follow what a sales team does. And so that's a really important cultural piece for us, is that we don't accept mediocre performance. I think that's really important thing. But also when you do have to performance manage, do it respectfully and make sure that there's nothing that you as a leader have let your staff down on, and use that as a self-reflection moment to say, how could I have done that better, so that you can still get the result. Yeah.
So there's 600 team in Australia.
Yeah.
How many do you manage directly?
I've got 8 in my team. So I've got a sales team that cover Australia and New Zealand.
Okay, great.
So nationally.
Yep.
And I manage the team completely remotely.
Okay.
So I'm based in Victoria, and I've got team everywhere. So that's a different dynamic as well when you're not all in the one office.
Yeah.
That's what Jess is.
My whole team is remote. Yeah.
And so there's a different leadership style that comes
For sure.
with managing remotely, and how do you engage?
What are the things that you do on a week-to-week basis to, what's the specific hows of that for you?
Yeah, a lot of meetings.
a lot of Zooms or Teams? A team?
Yeah, we're
you-
teams. We're
Oh, you're
teams. Yeah, we're a Microsoft house. I actually must say, when we moved from Zoom to Teams, I was like, oh, I really loved Zoom. Now I have no idea how to operate Zoom. It's amazing. It's amazing how quickly you change. And now I actually really like Teams. So anyway, your vehicle of choice for video conferencing. Death by meetings, of course.
But like Teams, like for meetings, are you chatting on Teams all day with your team as well?
Yeah, we run, for my team specifically, we do a weekly catch up just for half an hour with all of us. We're all run through some key things I need to go through. But I'd be on chats all day with my team. You know, what deals are we doing? What can I do here? This process has changed. So we use the Teams chats as our avenue. Unless it's really important, then it gets in an email. But I try to not, drown under the weight of too many emails. I do try and live in Teams. I do try and get out to my relevant team members on the road with them, especially for bigger engagements with customers. There's a level of experience that comes with having been in the industry for 25 years. So I always say to my team, like, just leverage me. Where do you need me?
Yeah.
How can I start a conversation for you so that it goes in the right direction and then you can carry it to the end? So I do, I'm here in Sydney, spending some time with some of my team, running some workshops here. Next week I'm back here. The week after that I'm in Perth, so it does come with some travel. But I think that in this day and age, you can absolutely run a team remotely day to day, and then where it makes logical sense, you try and get in front of your team, just so they feel supported.
Yeah, totally.
I've got a question just on the leadership piece, and this might be a bit deep, but do you think that leadership is born within people, or it's created through their circumstance?
Oh, that's a good question.
And what do you think it is for you?
I think that you can be born with a certain type of personality. But no, I think leaders you have to be intentional about it.
Yeah.
I really do. I do believe that everybody can be a leader in their own different ways.
Yep.
Could you, do you want to be a leader of a sales team? Do you want to be a leader of a country? There's so many different levels of leadership. But I think that, for anyone that's listening that thinks, I don't see myself as a natural leader, it's like anyone can be that if they're intentional enough about it. And I liken it to singing, right? So everyone thinks, are you born as a singer? Are you just born with it? Or,
is it a natural talent?
Is it a natural talent?
Or
everyone can sing. There are some people that are tone deaf, but everyone can sing. It's just whether you want to be intentional about learning how to do it or not. And Ed Sheeran's a perfect example. I don't know if any of you have seen, and go and Google it, because it really answers that question that you're asking: is it natural, or do we work at it? And if you listen to, if you Google Ed Sheeran singing when he was younger, he was atrocious.
Really?
Like, you would never, ever.
His voice was created.
He created his voice through sheer intention and hard work, and look at him today. So my opinion is leadership is absolutely something that you can have a small part of it naturally, but if you want to be a leader, don't just relax on and rely on natural skill. Be intentional.
Learn how to do it.
Absolutely. And that can be through a number of different ways. You could meet a leader in your life that you really like their approach and you model yourself on that. Or it could be listening to a podcast like you two wonderful ladies. Or it could be reading a book. Or it could be the way that you see the world. That's your leadership style is because it's a unique way to see the world, and that brings people on a journey. So no, I absolutely think that you create your own version of leadership if you're intentional about it.
Well, I think becoming a parent as well, that's, has elements of
your little clan.
Becoming a leader. You've
Absolutely.
got to lead and train and do all of that crazy stuff. So some people might not think they're a leader, but they just naturally become one as they're raising children.
Yeah.
What do you think's, you said, if you believe that it's come from creation, what's impacted leadership your leadership skills in your life, or who?
Probably for me, it's been watching what not to do. I've definitely had some leaders along the way, and I want to uncouple leadership from personality. I think they're two very different things. You can be great friends with someone and think, oh my God, their approach to leadership is atrocious, or you can think, I don't love that person, but the way they lead is extraordinary. So I think along the journey, I've definitely evolved from the type of, I always thought when I was younger, I always thought I had to know it all. I couldn't be vulnerable. I couldn't share the stories where I'd messed up. And that I had to just appear to be able to handle everything and do it with grace and ease, and I just know it all. And if you don't, if you go to someone and say, I actually don't really know what I'm doing there, that's perceived as a sign of weakness. So I think about the kind of leader I was 15 years ago, that was absolutely it. And so as I've gone through, and just a natural maturing process as well, I think that I would look at myself now as a graceful leader that considers all angles and then comes to that final, what's the right thing here? And it's not always my opinion. My opinion. I always like to be the last person in a room to speak. I'll let everybody else speak, get everybody else's opinions, and then at the end I'll formulate how I see it and how we go forward from there. And that's a really important thing for me, because then it comes back to that, what's an important way that I run teams, and that's everybody has a voice. And that's not just for my team itself, but it's for my all my people managers at my level. Like, I want to hear everything they have to say, and then I'll formulate, and then I'll go, well, that my opinion is this. Because I think the more information that you have, the better leader that you are.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so true. I think, then thinking about leadership and its impact, like, how important do you think like strong leadership is in the success of like scaling a business, right? Because, whether it's a small, business or a team, which you've been involved in, or now, like a big global business, like how important do you think the leadership aspect of that in the success of a business is?
Well, leadership, it makes or breaks. It really does.
Yeah, I agree.
I think strong leadership provides strong culture.
Yep.
And a business has to have a strong culture. If it doesn't have a strong culture, you lose that we're all in this together. If you don't have that strong
working
culture.
towards a common
we're
purpose.
Working towards a common purpose, exactly. Whether that be in a business, in a sporting team, as a family, with your children and your partner and so forth. It's that common purpose, shared purpose. And without strong leadership or without strong vision, there's nothing to work towards. There's no one to steer the ship. A boat has a captain. A plane has a pilot. Like, if you think of it like that, without a pilot, a plane crashes. Without a captain, a boat runs into a iceberg. And we don't want icebergs.
Well, I think there was a captain on that boat. Wasn't he asleep at the time?
So I think that if we consider strong leadership, and strong leadership has to filter through a business as well, I think that...
Is that saying the fish rots from the head?
Yep. And I think that if there's a strong leader at the top and strong... And I guess the question is, what is strong leadership as well? Is strong leadership... to me, strong leadership is empowering people around you to get behind the vision and the goal of what you're working towards. And just that consistent reminder and that consistent refinement of the work that you're doing. I'll give you an example. We can all find ways to be really busy, but what are we busy on?
Yeah.
And if we don't have that strong leadership, that strong purpose and that strong direction, it's just noise, because we're not actually refining and we're not working towards that strong purpose. And if you don't have leaders that say, oh, actually, see that thing you're doing over there, it's great. It's actually not part of our vision, and being able to have that strong conversation respectfully and so forth, we actually end up doing a lot of things but achieving nothing. And that's why strong leadership, to build that strong culture so that we can stay on path and on track for what we're working towards. is really, really important to drive a business forward.
So much so. This is like a leadership masterclass.
Yeah, I love it.
So many takeaways. But I did want to go back to something you said in there. You know, obviously this role sees you on the road a lot, and you have 3 young boys.
I was gonna
and
say
I
this,
bet you have people say to you all the time, like, how do you do it all?
Yep. How do you do it all?
How do I do it all? Oh, it's a big question.
Because you're on the road, like last year especially, like that was a big year on the road for you. I don't know if you're traveling as much this year in 2025, but...
Yeah, last year I did 70 flights.
Yeah.
And I stayed in a hotel room 163 nights.
Yeah, so it's like a third. Don't check my
good math. Yeah.
Don't check my maths.
About 1 in 3 nights I spent in a hotel.
So how do you do that with 3 boys at home?
Yeah, it's with a lot of help.
Yeah.
We had this beautiful, wonderful nanny last year. She's now gone to start her nursing career, so she's no longer with us. And she was a godsend.
Yeah.
And a unicorn. And we talk about scaling, and we talk about looking at ways we can delegate. And that was the greatest investment we had, because she loved our boys, and it allowed my husband and I, my husband also has a big job, as we're both corporate, executives and so forth. So it can be quite challenging. 2 full-time parents.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we live on 10 acres.
Crazy.
We also, did you know I own a vineyard?
Hey,
What was that going to come in?
I've got that one in.
Sorry, a bit of a homage to podcasts gone by. So definitely the nanny helped. She finished up with us at the end of January, and so we have had to look at this year a bit differently. So I only travel, or I do as best I can to only travel every second week. It's less disruptive to the boys. So my boys are 9, 8 and 4. And so less disruptive to the boys. It means I'm still fully present at work. Does mean I have to do a bit of out of hours work. I did 4 hours on Sunday morning. But it's just about being strategic in where you place yourself for certain times.
Yeah.
Do I always get it right? No.
Or does anybody?
No.
Does any parent?
No. And
will you get another nanny?
it's actually working quite well this way at the moment. I don't mind the travel. I like the variety in my day.
Yeah.
In my weeks. I like that I get out to see people in others. I'm so lucky in that when I go to other states, I've got so many friends in other states that it's not a lonely experience for me to travel.
Yeah.
I've got really great, one of my best friends lives in Brisbane through work, one of my best friends here in Sydney. So it's just how you look at it.
Oh, absolutely.
You could absolutely, it's really interesting. I remember having dinner with someone at the start of last year, and I remember explaining how I was due to travel to Sydney one particular day, and my flight was at 6 a.m. And I live 2 hours away from an airport, so I have to leave at 3 a.m. to get to the airport. Yeah. And I got this message saying my flight had been cancelled, and I was on an earlier flight, and I was just like, there's no way I'm making that flight.
Earlier than what, 6?
Yeah, so it was a 6:30 flight I was on. They'd cancelled that flight and put me on the 6 o'clock flight, and there was just no way I was going to make it.
Forward.
No, exactly. So I remember looking and thinking, okay, I'm just going to – that's not happening, and I cancelled. I was like, I'm not turning up for that. And I thought, I'll just get in the car and I'll call Virgin on the way and just book a later flight. So I was on my way to the airport and with no flight booked, but I had to come for – I can't even remember what it was now. And I remember sharing this story with someone who doesn't travel. They said, I just wouldn't have gone. I just would have cancelled the day. And I thought that's really interesting because we all have a choice in the way that we approach what we do. And again, it comes to that toward and that away. That person would have just said, well, I'm not going there, and they can just deal with it, and then not achieve what they needed to achieve that day because there was a small inconvenience of a flight being cancelled. Whereas I was like, I'll just get in the car. I'll make a couple of calls on my way. It's easy. And so I think, again, when it comes to – it's a problem-solving thing.
It's your mindset, right?
Exactly. And so
growth-focused mindset.
the travel that I do, you can choose to go, oh, I'm on the road all the time and I'm always sleeping in hotels. Or you can choose to look at it and say, I get to see my team today. I get to see some of my friends that I love and adore who normally maybe I could only see them once a year.
Yeah.
I get to see some customers that I really enjoy seeing. Or I could say, oh, I've got to travel. I've got to spend 4 hours in a car today. Oh, I've got to have airport coffee. Oh, I've got to eat one of those banana muffins at Virgin Lounge. Like, it's all in the way that you look at it.
Absolutely.
It really is. Yeah.
Love that.
What do you do to keep your mindset strong?
Oh, that's a good question. What do I do? I see a psychologist.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. You asked me a question earlier. It's a poignant question. How do I do it all? Sometimes that can be a really triggering question for me, because when you ask me how do I do it all, sometimes I'm like, I just can't think about it sometimes.
Yep.
And if I do stop and think, how do I do it all?
It gets too overwhelming.
It gets too overwhelming.
Yeah, I'm the same.
And
Yep.
it's like, I just don't think about it. I think
Keep putting
Just
one foot
do
in
it.
front of the
I
other.
actually
do it.
said, I was
Yeah.
actually, it's interesting. I was talking to my psychologist the other day and she turned to me and she said, actually, is there anything that you don't do? And I was like, because I look at my life and I think, oh, I don't do this and I'm not achieving this and I'm not as good at that as I'd like to be. And I think sometimes when you have somebody outside of your own mind,
Yeah, you're
and
doing a lot.
your own,
like-
you're actually like, oh, yeah, I am doing a lot.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's all good. The other thing I do is I play my guitar.
Yes, I want to actually ask about this
yeah.
because anyone who follows you on Instagram has probably seen that you've been pulling out the guitar, which is something from your past that, you know, you said earlier in the conversation, like it wasn't something you could go and pursue as a long-term career because, you know, the money's not there and unfortunately that beautiful career doesn't pay all the bills and get you to where you want to be.
Unless
But
you're
like it's
Taylor
obviously something that was in you, like that brings you joy and that released that creativity. So
Yeah.
how's that been impacting you being able to make time for that?
Yeah, it was really interesting. I was a piano player. Got to be very careful when I say that word.
Clear enunciation.
And a pianist. And I did that for 30 years, a really long time. And that's a story for another day. But for the last 15 years, 10 years, I haven't really played much. And I've really missed it, but kids and, you know how
Career
it
and
goes.
everything,
Kids
yep.
and career and mortgages and all of those things. And last year I was on leave and I just had my commission check. Good old commission checks. And I remember I was in South Melbourne and I thought I've always wanted to play the guitar. And so I walked into this beautiful guitar shop in South Melbourne. I said, I think I want to start playing the guitar. So I'd never picked up a guitar before.
Oh, wow.
And I walked in and they put a couple of guitars in my hands and they put this beautiful mahogany Martin into my hand. I went, oh,
This is
I
it.
really like this.
this is the guitar. And so I bought that and it's been such a lifesaver. It's such a godsend for me. Like just at the end of the day, just learning something new that's got nothing to do with my job, with my kids, with all of the responsibility that I have. It's the one thing that I can use to create and to talk to other people about. And it's really interesting. I've gone through this journey of do I share it online? Do I play? Do I sing? And it's a really confronting thing to do that. But it's amazing how many people have approached me and said, oh, I really wanted to learn an instrument.
Yeah.
Or and I think that, and that comes back to that leadership, right? And I think you don't have to be good at something or amazing at something or Taylor Swift or Ed Sheeran or Gracie Abrams or whoever. You don't have to be those people to enjoy
I need to
doing
get Taylor
something.
Swift in this podcast somehow.
Oh, you know I love my Swiftie. I miss her. Anyway, so I think that if there's something that you've been holding out from doing because you're fearful that you'll be terrible at it or you think you're too old. I mean, I'm in my mid-40s. I started playing guitar 6 months ago. So I think that it's never too late and we can all learn at any part of our lives and you never know just how much you're going to enjoy it and the kind of relief and release it's going to give you from that day-to-day grind.
Yeah.
And you feel like that's something that's really helping like your mindset and release.
Absolutely. Yeah. Hugely. Yeah.
Because as you said, it's something that's not to do with anything else other than just you.
Doesn't need me to pay the bills. It doesn't need me to make it dinner.
Doesn't expect anything of you.
It doesn't expect anything of me. And that's a really, I think, you know, as women, there's a lot of expectations on us in our homes, in our workplaces, in the way that we present to the world, to have something that no one in the world is relying on. It's just you. And like for me, it's just me and my guitar. You know, I can write songs, I can do all sorts of things, and it's just for me. It's great.
See, I love that. I thought you used to play guitar. I forgot it was piano that you used to play.
No, it's piano. Yeah, I only started playing 6 months ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe we need to learn an instrument.
Making me feel like I need a hobby. I was talking to someone the other day and like someone networking said to me, oh, what are your hobbies? And I'm like, okay, that's like a random question, but also I don't know.
Yeah. I
don't like have anything that's a real, a creative outlet or anything I just do for joy. Yeah.
That's a really great way to put it. Something that you just do for joy.
Yeah.
I think we forget that it's our lives too.
Yeah.
Like we're not just here to be somebody's partner. We're not just here to be somebody's friend. We're not a bank.
Yep.
We're not just here to be somebody's boss, somebody's daughter. We exist here for us as well, and it's our lives and it's our choice. No matter what society brings for us, it's our choice on how we do that. And it's making that intentional decision to do so.
And from a practical standpoint, because I'm always like, oh, but how? So like, is that something do you just like feel like doing it and so you kind of do it that evening, or do you schedule time for it, or you kind of just go, hey, I want to do it a few times a week? Like, how do you make time for something like that when there's so many other things demanding your attention 24/7?
I love that you're just always so practical.
How? Give me the how.
Tell me your way.
People tell me, like Taylor the other night was telling me about like a business idea or something that they're doing. And I was
Taylor, a business idea? Never.
And I was like, okay, but like how would that work and how would that work? He's like, no, babe, like just don't get so down in the weeds. Like is this a good idea? And I was like, yeah, but like how would this work? And then he's like, no, come up. But I think, and that's something like when you're talking, I'm like, I'd love that, but like how right now would I fit that in? And I'm sure people listening would be like, I've got something either that they've done in the past, like I spoke to someone the other day, like, oh, I used to sing, I want to do singing again, or there's something they've been thinking about trying, or like, oh, like me, I have no idea what that would be, but I want to have something, but I don't have time for that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Two things I would say. One is just start. Don't worry about how will I fit it in?
Yeah.
Which day? What time?
When am I scheduling that in?
It's
I'd have to put it in my diary, I think.
Yeah, that's okay. Find a spot in your diary. You only need 20 minutes. And I think that's the thing. We think a hobby or we think something we're going to learn has to be consistent. I've got to do it every day. And so for me, it's two things, because you're right. So I sleep 4 hours a night. Like I don't sleep very much.
That's how you fit it in.
Yeah. No, that's not how. No, because I can't play the guitar at 10 o'clock at night. No, I have 3 little boys, so sleep has eluded me for 10 years.
Yeah.
But that's just the way I'm used to living now.
You're used to operating on it.
So for me, I think it's just getting started. So what's the thing? Just get started. So for me, it was like I just walked into that guitar shop and went, I'm going to buy this guitar. The next step is learning it, right? So the second part of that was visibility, always having it there. So I bought a couple of guitar stands, and so the guitar was always there. It wasn't packed away. It was just always there. So I'd just pick it up. You're like, oh, I just want to learn how to play a D chord. Nothing huge, nothing amazing. I don't need to be playing all the songs. I don't need to be Tommy Emmanuel. You probably don't even know who that is. Showing my age now. I don't need to be all of those things. All I need to do is pick it up and learn how to play a D chord, right? And that's, and so it's just get started. The visibility, don't put it away in a drawer, whatever it is you want to do. If you want to learn to paint, get an easel and put it up and put some paints next to it. So when you go and make your morning coffee, I might just sit down, and that's what I do. I just go, I'm like, oh, I've got my morning coffee. Oh, my guitar's there. Oh, the kids are watching TV or playing Roblox. I'll just pick up my guitar and just play a little bit. And then slowly you fall more and more in love with it, so you tend to make more time for it. And so
when you improve on a skill, right? Like anytime I have done something, like to be fair, I was just thinking like when I did a ski season in Canada, and that was something that was real, like learning to snowboard and getting really good at that day after day.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and when you start to get better, like you want to
do it more.
You want to do it more.
Absolutely, yeah. And I think the other thing for me was putting it out into the world that I was doing it, because people are asking me.
Yeah. How's your guitar going?
How's your guitar going?
You don't want to have to say, oh, I haven't touched it.
Exactly. And it's not because it's not that people, because remember, it's something just for me. It's not that people are keeping me accountable as such, as in, well, if you haven't done that. But it just reminds me, oh, that's right, that's something I really love. And that's right, I haven't picked it up this week. And so they're the things that have helped me with it. But it has been something I didn't expect to get so much joy from. And now is something that I never go except when I travel, but anywhere I go in Melbourne, if I stay in our apartment in Melbourne, the guitar's with me.
Really?
Yeah. If I'm going out somewhere, I'll usually pick it up for a half an hour before and just sort of get into and then I'll be like, right, I'm ready to go out now. So it's really become an important part of my ritual in life now. But that takes time.
Yeah.
Right.
Sure.
So it's I highly recommend finding something. All you have to do is just get started.
Right? Like I had I've got an old friend that just passed away in January, right? And like she's my age with kids, and it's just those kind of things I think just make you go like, did she get to do everything she wanted to do? Like, am I doing everything I want to do? Like, or am I just? And this is the hard thing. You talk about scaling a business, right? Because I think we're at stages where we're all very driven, career or business wise. It's easy to throw like everything into it, especially when you're in like a build phase or things are quite crazy. But I think it's a great reflection that we all need to spend more things on time that give us joy. I do have one question though, having 2 kids that like to touch everything.
That's what I thought.
And you just say there's guitars around your house. How is it not being destroyed yet?
Especially for your 4-year-old.
Or, like, is it off?
There's a
is
motto,
it like an off limits?
There's a motto in our house. Don't touch the tar.
Love it.
Don't touch mummy's tar.
Okay.
My 4-year-old can't say guitar, so it's mummy's tar, which is very cute. They all know it's really important to me, and in full disclosure, I've got 2 neurodivergent children, so it's definitely a challenge to teach them. They're a little bit older now, but for them, they know how important it is to me, and we've talked about that. Mummy works really hard. Mummy does a lot for us. This is mummy's thing. We don't touch her tar. Now, in saying that, I think there's a really important thing for me with music is that my children are raised around music. Whether it be
you want
me,
to share that with them.
Yeah, I want to share it with them. So often my 4-year-old will come up and you can see this sort of glimmer in his eyes and he'll be like, I can tell he really wants to play it. So instead of, bashing at it, what I'll do is I'll give him one of my guitar picks and I'll play a chord and he'll strum it and he'll hear it in the like as it should sound. And you can see his little eyes being really curious about how am I making that sound? And so there's that, I guess there's that joy that you also get as a parent in things like that of seeing the wonder that they have of something that you also love. So you can find ways to bring them on that joyous journey that you go on as well.
I was just thinking.
Don't bash my guitar.
Maybe like stepbrothers. It's like, don't touch my drums.
Yeah.
Oh, gosh. That's, I think, beautiful. Probably some guitar sales are going up in Australia right now. But I think, for anyone listening, like that is, what's one thing that you can bring into your life? And I mean, I actually talk about that a lot when I'm talking to clients and things. I'm just not practicing what I preach on it. Have you got anything?
Like a hobby?
Like it's something you just do for joy.
No, I don't. And it's making me think I need to.
Very depressing.
Yeah. I used to love doing a lot of things, but kids and like going to the gym, but like really getting into fitness and health and yoga and Pilates and all of that. Hot yoga.
I used to love yoga actually. I loved going to yoga.
Yeah.
Oh, well, a little homework
there
for
you
us.
go. That's what we're doing.
A little homework for us. All right. Well, gosh, we could probably do a 6-hour podcast.
We could.
And we've done like some leadership lessons. But what we tend to do at the end, we used to have a little question jar with random questions in it. But that was in this old cocktail shaker and that's now
It got mouldy,
got
we
mouldy in the
realised.
bottom.
Yeah.
We don't know how. Must have left some margarita in the bottom. But what we do is we have a little chat GPT bot that gives us a random question at the end.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It's usually somewhat business
Yeah,
related.
yeah.
Okay. So let me just check
It
this.
sounds risky.
It could be.
We've had to train the chat GPT to
Yeah.
not ask random things. I think one time it was like, would you ever get a boob job?
Yeah, that's right.
Oh, I can answer that question.
Well, I think we said yes.
Yeah, we did. We were like, yeah.
And then I think that led us to talking about, would you put your feet on OnlyFans and all
Yeah,
sorts of
we've-
other things.
yeah.
We've gone some places.
That's the kind of conversation that I'd like to be a part of.
Okay, well, that
you
can be
go.
the after hours session.
Make
That'll
it
be
risque.
the subscribers episode. Tune in later with the ASMR, which I thought was a sexual term. Apparently it's not. All right. So, okay, interesting. I think I know do I know what the answer to yours will be? Okay. If you had to give a TED talk on something non-business related, what would it be?
Oh, something non-business related.
I think it'd be one of two things.
Yeah, it'd be either Taylor Swift
Yep. That's what I thought.
or it would be how Melbourne will win a premiership this
Yeah, I
year.
thought it would be.
I'm so predictable.
Yeah, those are the two.
Consistent, is that the word I want to use?
Yes,
I'm so
consistent.
consistent.
Yeah,
Consistent, my dear. Nothing but consistent. What would yours be?
Ooh. Oh, God.
Maybe we need more hobbies. She's got lots of
Yeah.
hobbies. She's got Taylor Swift. She's got
killing it
football. You got
over
guitar
here.
now.
I feel like
you
I've
got all
got
the
nothing.
hobbies.
I've
Give us
got
some
all the
hobbies.
hobbies.
Yeah, give us one.
No, they're mine.
But I think like sport for you, I mean, that is like something that gives you passion, and
Yeah.
you just have to wait for the season to be on to.
It's already on.
Oh,
Started last week.
I wonder you're so happy right now. How's Melbourne
Oh, we
doing?
lost.
Oh,
That's okay. Anyway.
talk about that.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like
I have to give a TED talk on something non-business related. Yeah.
no, I feel very
WhatsApp groups.
yeah.
We spoke about that the other
Yes.
week.
How to make a great
Like
espresso
a
martini.
ranch.
Yeah.
Oh, margaritas. Yeah, that's probably mine.
Yeah, it would
I
have
could
to
do a
be.
whole podcast. Not podcast, a TED talk on how to make the perfect margarita.
Oh, geez.
Spicy
I'd have to
or-
do something travel related, I think.
Classic. Travel.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, something we all need to work on there.
How to,
Yeah,
how
clearly.
how to travel the US with carry on for 2 weeks only.
Oh, is that something that you're about to do?
No, I did
She's
it last
done
year.
it.
Oh,
You've got so much to share. This could be, we could have, this
Wow.
is the
Oh yeah, strategic
Courtney's hot tips.
planning.
Did you just wear it all?
I actually didn't. No, I didn't wear it all, which is quite shocking when you think
Yeah.
about it. It's just a lot of white t-shirts.
Yeah. Same.
I have to do that. I was not a backpack traveller, and because of Taylor, he
Has the same
he's a
shirt
backpack
every
man.
day.
If you've
It
been- if
is
you've been
game
anywhere with
changing. I am not
Yeah.
kidding. It is game changing doing international travel without needing to check baggage in and do carousels.
Yeah.
It was the most stress-free experience traveling the US
You've got
last
all your
year.
stuff on you.
Yeah, you've got everything. You're not
waiting.
Very
worried.
good.
And you fly through customs. Like my airport experience with only doing carry-on, it is well worth sacrificing a couple of pieces of clothing. You just make sure you wash. You've got enough to get you through to one wash. Then you either do the wash yourself or pay for the hotel to do it, which was what I did. I wasn't
Yeah.
washing.
I
my
don't-
own.
I don't
have
wash.
time for that.
I
I don't
outsource.
wash. And honestly, it was amazing.
Well, I'm off to the Philippines and Thailand on
You are
Friday,
not taking
so
your backpack. You would not be
no,
taking
I'm
your
not.
backpack.
I haven't. I'm not prepared
If you're
enough for
taking
that.
kids, that's a different story.
no
Yeah.
kids.
Yeah. Oh, you can so do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go. Maybe challenge accepted.
You, no,
I'm not.
I have to do
kidding?
it. I'm going to Thailand for a week in April, and I'm on the backpack limitation again.
Yeah.
So
Great.
yeah, but I did it for Cambodia last year, and it did work actually really well. I was like, oh, and I think I was the same. There's a couple of things I didn't wear, but I was like, oh, I actually wore most things in there as
Yeah,
I
and you
used
didn't
to when
miss
I take.
anything that you didn't bring.
No, usually when I take a big suitcase, I come home and half the stuff in
Yeah.
there, like you
That's
haven't.
what I don't want to do this Friday. It's like just pack a whole lot of shit.
That's
I'm
why
not
I
gonna
say
wear.
just jeans and a lot of white t-shirts because then you just know what you're wearing or black, whatever you normally wear. Just variety is just something simple. It depends on the purpose of your trip, of course, but
There's less decisions to make as
less
well.
decisions. A white t-shirt and jeans always looks good in your photos, and just bring a scarf or a jacket and mix it up a little bit. And
Yeah.
so doable.
Bam, bam. Thank you, ma'am. All right, tune in for Courtney's TED Talks on travel with a backpack, Melbourne Football Club, and Taylor Swift.
T Swift.
and all those amazing leadership and life lessons as well. Thank you for sharing all of that with us today.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much. Just to finish off, so if anyone listening is, I suppose, scaling a business, which is what a lot of our listeners are doing right now, I suppose what's your number one tip for them as, to handle that juggle of business and life?
Number one tip, be kind to yourself.
Oh, yeah, that's nice. Yeah. I think we're very hard on ourselves.
We are.
Very, very hard on ourselves. Yeah. Let's finish on that.
Thank you.
Well, thank you for tuning in, everybody. Be sure to like and subscribe and share this episode with a friend who needs some leadership lessons, because that was just the whole masterclass right there. But thank you for tuning in. We'll see you next week.